We're just taking this little walk together in tantric practice, and let me give you one simple practice that can facilitate further awakening. That's so simple you can do it anytime, anywhere, anyhow. And it seems, well, it is really simple, and as you progress with it, it becomes very profound. Sometimes the simplest practices take you very, very, very deep, and this is one of those. So as you're walking around, as you're in the grocery store, as you're talking to someone, anywhere, anytime, you can just drop your awareness into your heart center, and not just anywhere in your heart, but down into the very kind of what I call the root of the heart, or the base of the heart region. So if this whole area is your heart region, then it's like letting your awareness drop down to that place, which isn't exactly a place, where it comes to rest. So if the heart region is like a kind of sphere of energy in your chest, it's like bringing the center point of your awareness into the base, or even the back of the base of the heart. So it's dropping in and down and back a little bit until like the center point of your awareness, the center point of your selfhood, as it were, feels like it's in here, in the base and even the back of the base of the heart center. And so I guess it's hard to describe in words now that I'm trying to describe it. But it is a very real sensation. It's very palpable once you get the hang of it. And anyone could ask you at any moment, are you in your heart or not? And you would know, you have an answer. You're like, oh, no, I'm all up in here. Or, yeah, I am, but not completely. I'm up here on the top of the heart, and I just need to relax and just drop in a little bit more, So where you are experiencing yourself from, and where you're experiencing the world from, that's what I'm calling, the center point of your awareness. And in the Tantric tradition, it is metaphorically likened to a bee. And so, it's like where you're putting your attention keeps wandering here and there. Ooh, I like that. Oh, I don't like that so much. Oh, that seems interesting. Oh, well, I have a pain in my leg. And it's just wandering, this bee that wanders all over the place, right? And so that the metaphor in the Tantra tradition, and this is, again, a governing metaphor you find in virtually all lineages, it's just all over the place. It's a pretty much universal in the tradition, is that the heart center is like a lotus flower that for most people is closed or partially closed. And so part of the work is to invite the opening of that heart center. That lotus flower starts to open up. And the more it opens, the more attractive it becomes to the wandering bee, right? The wandering bee of your attention gets drawn into the heart center, because that's where the sweetness is, that's where the nectar is. So there's various, practices and energy body work and healing, opening therapy. Anything that works to open the heart center is good. And opening the heart center what it means is that you're feeling everything fully, and that can be painful or scary as long as you're believing the stories that get attached to or tagged onto those feelings or emotions. So that's why we have the Vikalpakshaya practice I told you about, dissolving story. Because if you don't dissolve story, then letting yourself feel everything that arises in you in response to life is overwhelming, but it's not intrinsically overwhelming. It's overwhelming because of the stories that get tagged on, and that those stories can magnify pain and suffering, or they can get us stuck in a particular feeling or emotion where otherwise we wouldn't be stuck. You can't be stuck in an energy without a story to stick you there, an interpretation, So, for example, just take a simple example that everyone's experienced. Let's say you are you're in a relationship that's very loving and close and intimate, and then that other person leaves or goes away, disappears, or dies. Now, that's going to be painful. That's naturally painful. That's just grief arises then, and there's no way out of it. You need to just let it move through you. And it does move through you. And what happens, though, is most people, they not only have the grief, they have a story that's tagged onto it that gets them stuck in it, doesn't allow it to move through. For example, the story, I'll never be loved like that again. Or now I'm alone. Or he or she was the only one who really got me. Right? So if you believe those thoughts, what happens is the thoughts serve as kind of Velcro. They don't allow the energy to fully pass through. Right? So you get stuck in the grief, in the sorrow. And indeed, you can grieve someone for the rest of your life if you want to. You can spend 40 years just hanging out in that grief. Or you can let it move through, because that's what it wants to do. All energy wants to move. So when you are able to see the story clearly and say, actually, that's just a thought that I can choose to believe or not. When I believe it, it magnifies my pain and suffering. When I don't, that energy is able to move through me. So I'm just giving a relatively simple example of a very crucial principle. So what you find is that energy does want to move, that emotions are very transient, and a particular emotion usually only lasts a few minutes, and then it's gone. Some a few seconds, but if you cling to a story that might make that emotion recur and recur and recur, or just sort of get stuck until there's a release of that story and a willingness to experience the energy. Okay, so all of this was just a commentary on what it means to have an open heart. To have an open heart is to let yourself feel everything while not getting stuck in those feelings by laying aside and ultimately even dissolving your interpretations of why you're feeling what you're feeling, your story about it, So feeling everything fully as pure energetic reality, to the point that you're not even labeling the emotions, because in fact, we're not even very good at that, as some sociological and psychological research has shown. We're not good at labeling our emotions. People, these labels are very haphazard, and it's ultimately not helpful to say, oh, this is anger, oh, this is fear, because then it's a reductionism that doesn't allow you to kind of experience the nuance and textures and flavors of that particular feeling. So when you slap a label on it, it's a form of just pushing the energy away, trying to get control over it by understanding it, through understanding what it is. Now I can deal with it. But emotions are not meant to be dealt with. They're meant to be allowed to pass fully through you. And so, again, releasing even the label, even the name, and letting everything move through you, and experiencing it fully in its nuance and flavor and texture and character, without making a self out of it either, without forming a self-image on the basis of this experience, no matter how many times it happens. Easier said than done, yes, but that's the work, and it's deeply rewarding work. So that's what it means to have an open heart, one that feels fully, one that is open to all beings, all things, all creatures, just open, just, and that openness that can be a vulnerability associated, a sensitivity. It's all very much worth it. Okay, to be open is to be alive. To be closed down is to be half dead. And we're never satisfied by anything less than aliveness, even if aliveness hurts sometimes. But with that story release whole practice, what you find is that an open heart experiences more joy than it does sorrow by quite a considerable margin. That's just its nature. Okay, so the lotus opens, and then the bee of attention is drawn there, and it nestles into that nectar, and that's the tantric metaphor, And so, just the simple practice that I was introducing, which can just do so much for you if you make it into a almost constant thing or a very regular thing, is that wherever you are, you're kind of thinking about something. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to. Oh, this person is talking to me. Oh, whatever. You can do everything you need to do in life, but just drop your center point of awareness, your center point of selfhood, into the base of the heart. We tend to kind of hang out up here in our frontal lobes or behind our eyes, and that's where our kind of sense of self is localized. Relax the jaw. By the way, this really helps a lot. Completely relax the jaw, and that allows you to drop down that center point of awareness into the base of the heart, and then see what happens. See how you move through the world differently when you're just aware of the base of your heart. Then you can, if you would like to add a visualization, you can visualize a tiny point of sparkling light in the base of the heart. And it's sending out rays in all directions. And those rays are meeting other people's rays, because other people have a tiny point of light in the base of their heart. If you're just walking down the street or in the supermarket or whatever, then this is a good visualization to visualize each person has a tiny point of sparkling light, just like you do, and all the rays are going out and they're dancing together in a certain way. And it might sound silly to some of you, but boy, is it a sweet practice, and it is a reminder of the truth, because everyone, even the mean person, even the twisted person, they have that point of light. They might not have access to their innermost essence, their divine nature, but it's still there, and you can visualize it, and it might change how you interact with all beings. So you can add kind of some more layers to the practice, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing, say an algebra problem, it's difficult to imagine the points of light and everyone around you at the same time as you're doing that. But with practice, even that's possible. But just the simple sense of being aware of the heart center, that you can do while doing anything else.